Germany, and she lost her parents, Ursula, and there were 3 sisters, and we took Erika, was her name, we took her in. Erika and I, we had to get the leaves from the tobacco and string them and hang them up outside,
Really?
you know, to dry them, yeah. So one day my dad was gone, and the girls, her 2 sisters came over, and a few boys, you know, and nobody was home. Everybody took a few of the dry tobacco, shredded it, and we didn't have any cigarette paper, you know, we took paper from the newspaper, and it tasted terrible. And Grandpa said, well, everything okay? I said, everything is okay. A good thing he didn't count.
Yeah.
So.
That's funny.
And then he stopped. Right after he went to church again, you know, then he stopped, and he got really.
Because his mother converted to the church, and then all of their kids were.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know, the funny thing was, when I met Egon, and my parents were against it from the beginning. I had a hard time. But I did it anyway. And then I got mad at my parents because when we got to when it happened with Egon and Renate, my mom and my dad were sitting against the table and said, well, we told you 25 years ago. I said, and why did it hold 25 years?
Yeah.
So.
I think that, I've thought about this a lot. I think that I would feel the same way. They felt so protective of you because they had lost all their kids. You were it, and they just wanted to hold on to you so tight. And I think sometimes the tighter you hold on to somebody,
the more you break out.
Yeah, don't you think?
It's true. And I didn't sit around the house and didn't do anything. I was working and making money and learned something, you know, and so.
Well, so did you ever have? I want to back up a little bit. What are some of the best memories you have of being little with your sisters?
Well, we didn't have anything to remember good, you know. The war was going on, air raids every night.
What about when you were even younger, though?
And that's funny, you know. I remember certain things, like going to school in Hamburg, like in Bielefeld, you know, little things come back to my mind. And my mom had to go for a few weeks to a rehab center.
Really?
Yeah. And I stayed with a family, you know, he was the president from our ward, you know, in Bielefeld. And his daughter is 80 now, she's 2 years older than I am. And she had 3 brothers. And he was a caretaker for a big factory, you know. He had to organize everything, to get cleaned and everything. And they lived right in Bielefeld where the train station was down, not basement, but half up, half down. And they had a big apartment, and we had pillow fights with her brothers, you know. And she lives in Salt Lake, Elfriede Dürman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we talk. Once in a while she calls me or I call her, you know.
So as you look back, you and your sisters, did you guys get along well?
Yeah.
What were their personalities like?
Happy kids.
Happy kids. I imagine they looked up to you since you were their older sister.
We all looked alike, dressed alike.
I know you guys, when you had Dinah, did you say, oh my gosh, she looks just like my sisters? Could you tell that resemblance? It's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
It was just not a happy time, huh?
No. And that's what I feel bad when I see some kids who have brothers and sisters, when they're grown up, you know, and they talk to each other, they fight each other. I wish I had my sisters. I felt kind of lonely without them, you know. And my girlfriend I had, you know, when we moved from Hamburg to Ellerau, Gisela, she was 1 year older than I am. I was 8 and she was 9. She was 1 class over me. And we are still friends, you know.
Mm.
She lives in Hamburg and we call each other every week. 1 week she calls, 1 week I call. And when I go up there, I see her. She doesn't travel too much anymore, you know, because she has some problems. But her sister was there now from Louisiana, you know, from New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
And she called me and I said, well, Brigitte, she said, it's just lovely in Germany. I like to stay here. She's homesick for Germany. I never was homesick.
Really?
No. Mm-mm. And you know, when we applied for going to America in 48, I didn't know Ian then, you know.
Oh, okay.
I met him in 50.
But it took that long to get the papers all done?
Yeah. You got some numbers, you know, you could put in application, you know, in 48. And that's what we did. We had to find a sponsor.
But did you even want to go to America? Because you'd be leaving everything you knew.
Yeah, but I didn't have a boyfriend or anything, you know.
Yeah. But still, all your friends, just everything familiar.
Yeah, but the family never saw each other because they all lived so far apart, you know. The only ones I saw, it's Margaret's mother, Selma and Willie. I went, when I was 18, you know, I went there for costume balls, you know, and dancing, you know. I liked to be there, you know, but all the others were all in different...
That makes sense then.
And you didn't have a car or anything to go there.
Or if you had a car, you probably didn't have any money for gasoline.
No, over there you didn't have a car.
Because I remember reading that after the war, it was horrible. The inflation was horrible. Yeah. It was all horrible.
Nobody had a car. Only business people, you know. Mm-hmm. And when I met Egon, it was...
So did you meet him at a church dance?
At a church dance. In October 1950.
A Mormon church dance, right?
Yes.
We'll just ignore him.
Who was it?
Jeffrey.
And once in a while I went to church, you know, and I went to this... Everybody said, why don't you come? Kali was there too, you know, and Ziggy Klunker and... all the guys I know. So I come in there, and Horst Straube, he was a guy who worked with Egon together. And Egon asked him one day, what are you doing this weekend? He said, well, I'm going to a church event. Is it expensive, Egon said? And Horst said, no. He said, you can come along there, nice girls, you know, and stuff like that. So he did. And here we were, and I like to dance, you know. So I came in, everybody, oh, hi, Uschi, you know, and Ursula, and I don't know. And he was sitting there just looking like this.
Yeah.
And Horst danced with me. I said, who's that? He said, he works in our place. I said, what does he want here? Is he going to church? No, he just didn't have any money to go any place this weekend, so he came along. And he was telling stories, you know, and I said, are you sure it's right what you're saying? Yeah, he said, you will find out everything is the truth. So the dance was over. He didn't dance. Mm-hmm. He was dressed really nice, you know. He had a trench coat on, you know, a coat and a hat on, you know, yeah. So I stayed with our bishop, you know. Yeah, mein Schatz. Is it too bad?
Does he want me to take him right now?
Yeah.
1 second, I'll just turn this off.
Komm nicht. Oma macht dir Winkel und dann gehen wir zu Bett. Maybe you can walk alone. Come on.
Well, so, did you start dating him right after the church dance?
No. I had to go with our church president, you know, Bishop Home and his wife. So here Ian and Horst say, oh, we come along. But they had to go in that direction. We went this direction. And he said, oh, that doesn't matter, you know. And took my arm, you know. And then when he said goodbye, I got a kiss, you know.
Huh? And you just met him.
Yeah. And I said, boy.
He's smooth. And so after that, did you?
And he said, I'd like to meet you again. This was a Saturday night. So Thanksgiving dance. So he said, where do you work? And I told him where I worked. And he lived just around the corner.
Oh.
And he said, what time is your work?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I said 5 o'clock. So when I came to work Monday, I told everybody I met somebody. Big head, cold, you know, kiss here. And he wants to see me again. And then my girlfriend, you know, Rita, she said, let's see if he said, Egon, are you here? She came out of but he wasn't there. So every night the same thing. Everybody looking, you know. She came out on Wednesday night, and I had to catch a streetcar, you know, to go to the railroad station where I had to leave. And my train was going.
So how far away from work did you live?
30 kilometers.
Oh, because you were out in the
Yeah,
country.
I had to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning to be. Yeah. Had to walk from the house to the train station 20 minutes. Usually took my bike, you know, left it there, and then. So Wednesday night we come out, and I said, well, we just forget him. And she came out, and she went to the door, and she was singing, Egon, 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 du hast ja nur aus Liebe zu mir. It's a song over there.
Uh-huh.
And he said, yeah, that's true. He was standing there. So he came with me on my state train. I missed my train.
Huh.
I went later. Then he invited me the next Saturday, and I couldn't come. Then he said, well, my birthday is on the 17th of November. And I told my mom about you, and she wants to meet you.
Uh-oh. Da 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 da.
And I said, I don't want to go there, you know.
How old was he going to be?
He was my age.
So were you 18?
In 50? No, I was 22.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't know what to get him. You couldn't get anything, you know.
Yeah.
You had stamps to buy everything. So I knew somebody who had a little store, and I got a cravat, you know, what do you call it?
A bolot, like something for your tie?
A tie.
Mm-hmm.
Got a tie.
Oh, uh-huh.
And then he sent me to Malina. She opened the door and she said, who's that? He said, my girlfriend. Why didn't you tell me? And I felt so embarrassed, you know.
That's Oma for you, huh?
Yeah, he didn't tell her he was bringing me.
Really?
He just told her to have some cake, you know, for his birthday. And he told me his mom wanted to meet me.
So what was your first feelings about Oma?
She didn't like me. I didn't like her either.
Really? Well,
But then when his dad came, he was really nice. He was really nice.
Mm.
And then I told him, you know, we are going to America. And he said, oh, I'd like to go there too. And I said, yeah, but you can't, because we had to put in an application in 48 and it was 50 already. And I said, it could be in 1 or 2 years we can go, you know, and you have to have a sponsor. And this goes through the church. I told him all about it.
So the sponsorship was through the church, or you just happened to know people?
Onkel Richard,
Uh-huh.
Perchan, you know,
Mm-hmm.
he was his bishop.
Oh, okay.
And Onkel Richard asked him
Mm.
if he would sponsor Dad, Mom, and me. And he said yes.
Wow. Did he have to give money for that?
No.
Or just put his name on?
You know, the sponsor meant if we come to America,
He will make sure you have jobs, right?
we have to work and don't go to the state for anything,
Yeah,
or he has to pay for
yeah.
everything.
Same
you
things
know.
now too.
Yeah. So
Why wouldn't any of the family sponsor?
I don't know if you had to have a certain income or something,
Oh, okay.
because Tante Hille, Onkel Richard didn't make too much money. He was a ward clerk, I think. I don't know if Tante Hilde worked. And they had many kids, you know. You have to have a certain position.
That makes sense.
So then when I got married in 52 in May.
Now, how did your family feel about that?
Well, I had to get married.
Yeah, I know.
That was it. Then we got notice
So
by June.
did Oma Greta and Opa Esche, did they finally like Opa Egan or not? Still not? Did they like him at all?
I think if they would have acted different, there were sometimes real bad.
And what about Oma Lina and Opa Herman?
Opa Herman was really good. Oma Lina accepted this later on, you know. But when she heard Egon wanted to go to USA, she said, no way. But he said, I like to go. And then my mom did write a letter when we got engaged to Uncle Richard if he could get a sponsor for Egon. And he wrote back, he doesn't belong to the Mormon church, he won't get anybody who sponsors him. So when we got married on the 31st of May, and I think they left beginning of June. And I was pregnant. I said, I could have gone.
But you'd have to leave your husband.
Yeah, and I said, I don't do it. Then we found out I can go till the 6 months when I'm pregnant, if you find a sponsor in that time. And they said they would make a special allowance on my number and put an A in back, you know, so he can go on my number, you know, if we have a sponsor. So Oma Greta and Opa Albert left, and I stayed in Igor's.
So did you think that you would even see them again, or you didn't know, or what?
Well, we thought, you know, Mom said she will see if she finds a sponsor, you know. And the baby had to be 1 year before you could go, if it is born in December, you know. So we had to have somebody by August, you know. But I was so slim then.
That's what I heard, and you couldn't tell you were pregnant.
No, you couldn't. You see pictures and you can tell I'm pregnant. I was 100. And let's see how many pounds for it here. 116 pounds here. I was about 110 or 109. Real slim, you know.
Too slim. That's a little too small.
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, so who was your sponsor then?
So my mom and my dad came to Salt Lake, and Tante Hilde and Uncle Richard said, well, Sunday we go to Mr. Pershan, you know, your sponsor. He wants to know you. And Uncle Richard did right, you know, nobody would sponsor Egon because he is an LDS. So my mom and my dad came to Pershan, and he's German, you know. He comes from East Germany, Ostpreußen, you know. And they came in the afternoon for coffee, or for cake and punch. So he said, what's happened to your daughter? And Mom said, well, she's pregnant and married, and we don't have a sponsor for my son-in-law, you know. Why didn't Richard ask me? And she told him the truth. She said he had written us a letter, you know, and said nobody would sponsor him if he is an alias. He said, I was an alias when I came to America. I was a young kid and I don't know how he got there, and he worked hard and he has a big business later. And on Monday he went with Mom and Dad to a lawyer, you know, to put the citizen paper together, and we got it 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later. Yeah, I think 4 weeks later. And I went right to the consulate in Hamburg, and they said, no way. I didn't say I was pregnant. I just said I want my husband and the citizen. And they said, no, he has to wait. for a number. And I said, no, I talked to Mr. So-and-so, I had the name, and he said he would make
Oh, an A or a B.
A or a B or something on it. Yeah, he's on vacation. I said, well, I want somebody who is filling in for him. I didn't let them go, So I had to come into the consul who was there, And he said, of course we do it. So he did it. Then the thing was, I had to get out of there. And there was no ship going before November.
Well, did you even have money to go?
No.
How much did it cost? Do you even remember?
4,000 D-mark, $1,000. $1,000 in 52 was quite a bit of money.
Well, that's quite a bit of money now.
Yeah. But we couldn't, they didn't have any ships. The only one we could get was on the 4th of November. That would mean storm, fog. And all the immigrants went on the lower decks, with big rooms, 20, 30 people in it. And Egon said, you can't do that, because I was throwing up every morning. I was otherwise fine, but in the morning or at night, So we went to the bureau of the ships, and he said, well, I got one cabin on the first class deck, and it cost $1,000. We didn't have to be down where the other people were, and we could eat up in the big dining room, it was really good. And we got a cabin, one bed on the outside, one on the inside, a little night thing here, and then a bath next to it.
So how did you afford it?
You couldn't pay me German money. You couldn't take any money. My mother had to go to the credit union in Salt Lake, and she borrowed the money.
Wow.
They both were working,
Okay, but
They
that's a
borrowed-
lot of money. I wonder how much money that would be in today's dollars. Does that make sense?
Oh, it would be much.
It'd be, yeah.
And she sent the money, and then she had to pay. We came by Greyhound bus. She had to go to the Greyhound and had to pay the fare from New York to Salt Lake.
Wow.
And she had to leave $50 for us to eat something on the way here. Because we couldn't take any money. All the money we had, what Egon got from work and so, I bought pots and pans and beddings,
Did you take that with you or no?
We had a big wooden sink made, and had it in. And our feather beds, and pillows and stuff that we had. And then I bought a baby buggy and all the clothes for Katie, baby stuff.
So were you afraid you might have her on the ship?
No,
Well, then, I guess good for you.
Egon said, well, I hope you don't get seasick, because I was pregnant. He said, I won't get seasick because I have to take the, is it my good boat?
No, it's Meg or Jeffrey, I think.
So he had to take a little boat every day to go to work. Isn't it? So, when we went for Hamburg, left, we got a little booklet we could pay in 50 D-mark, or Reichsmark it was. And with this book we could go in the little shops on board, to buy something. Food and everything we got. So Egon wrote a card on his parents before we left the Elbe and went into the North Sea. He said, everything is fine, I hope Ursula doesn't get seasick. I feel fine. That was at 11 o'clock. We went to bed. At 2 o'clock I woke up. Ship was going like this. And I heard something. He was in the bathroom. And he said, I can't understand it. Don't you feel sick? I said, no. He was sick all 10 days on board.
Really?
He didn't get up. And I came in, oh, the light is blinking.
I have like 5 minutes left.
So he was seasick and I had a good time. I made every little,
Oh, well, woohoo!
yeah, we had dances.
But you were 8.5 months pregnant? 8
No.
months pregnant?
She should have been born by the end of December.
Oh.
So I was in my 8th
So she was earlier.
Yeah, she was earlier.
That's why she was so tiny. Well, so did you go through Ellis Island?
We didn't have to land there, you know.
Where did you land?
I don't know, some dock, you know.
But not by, did you go see the Statue of Liberty on the way?
We could see it.
So how far after that did Omalina and Opa Hammond come?
2 years later.
Did you have to pay for that?
No, then you could fly or take a ship and pay yourself. That's when Uschi came.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So is that when you first met Uschi, was when she came over? Did you know her in Germany?
No. Mm-hmm. I met her at a German dance.
So you got here and you went to live with your mom and dad for a little bit? Till you had the baby?
Met my mom till May. And then we got a little apartment in a basement, you know, not real deep, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought my first kitchen set, yellow, with yellow chairs.
Mm-hmm.
And we bought a TV chair, TV, and we had saved some money.
So where did Opa Egan work, since he didn't know any English?
We came in November, and he got his first job at Bühnerblock.
What's that?
Bühne,
Mm-hmm.
they make those big blocks for house building, you know.
Okay.
He
Is
had
it a German place?
Yeah, it was a German guy. He had to wear gloves, you know, at night.
Oh.
And they came out of the oven, you know, hot, and they had to
Wow.
stack them, you know.
So he worked at night. Then did you work during the day, or did you stay home when my mom was born?
I couldn't speak any English.
Yeah.
So I started in November, you know, where KSL TV was downtown, first out.
Uh-huh.
There was a factory who made blouses and skirts. And somebody told me about it, and I went there. Couldn't talk. So when
Is that where they called you Maggie?
No, it was a telephone company. So I went in there, and this guy comes up. He said, "I heard you are German." I said, "Yes, yeah. Our lady who is in care here, she's German."
Hmm.
So she showed me everything, you know. I
Wow.
was inspecting blouses, take the little, to see everything was okay.
Yeah.
The tabs was. She showed me, and she said, "Oh, I see, you can do it."
So after my mom was born, did you work still, or did you take time off?
No.
So
I worked at this place, and my mother watched the baby and Egon at
Mhm.
night. Egon had to start at 11 o'clock, and I came home at 10.
wow.
I worked from 6 to 10.
6 in the morning till 10
No,
at night?
at night,
Oh,
only
okay.
short part-time.
Oh, okay.
And he had to go at 11 till morning 6 o'clock for 90 cents an hour.
90 cents. Wow.
And then we went to a German, I don't know, football, soccer place, you know. They said, well, you can go there and meet people.
Mm-hmm.
And we met Henry and Reza, you know, I know her from Hamburg. And we were talking, and Egon talked to him, and he said, "You're looking for a job?" Egon said, "Yes, where are you working?" He told him. And he said, "Well, our place needs somebody." So the next morning, Egon took a bus and went to the place he worked all the years.
Really? Was it a lot better money?
Yeah, he had $1.50 or something
Isn't that
to
crazy?
start out.
$1.50.
But you know, you could get 5 pounds of ground beef for $1 then,
How would that be?
when we came.
Uh-huh.
And we were still paying off our debts to the credit union.
Wow.
Gave my mom money for the living there, you know, for half a year. And we saved, you know. We had money saved for a TV, for a chair, and for a kitchen set. So we went to Sears to buy it. And this guy, Egon could talk English, I couldn't. And I said to him, I like this and I like that, you know. And I said, do we have enough money? You know, we were. And then this guy heard us talk and he said, are you German? And Egon said, yes. And he said, well, I was in the army in Germany. And he spoke really good. And we said, we like to buy this.